The frozen morning air cut through the Ardennes forest like a blade. Snow crunched beneath tank treads. Metal groaned in the bitter December cold. Inside his Panther tank, a German commander struggled with numb fingers and a leather logbook that refused to cooperate. His breath fogged the cramped turret space. Every exhale created thick white clouds. The pencil felt like ice between his gloved hands. Writing became an exercise in frustration. This was December 19th, 1944, the eastern edge of Germany's desperate counteroffensive, and something was terribly wrong. The logbook entry told a story of horror, not conventional warfare, not tank against tank in open combat. Something far worse stalked the German armor, a mechanical phantom that appeared and vanished like smoke. American forces possessed a hunter unlike anything ever encountered. They heard it first. That distinctive high-pitched whine, like an angry hornet, magnified 1,000 times. The sound came from the flanks, always the flanks. But when German crews swung their massive turrets to engage, nothing remained. Empty forest, bare snow, silent death waiting elsewhere. 3 Tiger tanks had died the previous day, powerful machines reduced to burning hulks. Crews never saw what killed them, only heard that terrible engine note before the shells arrived. The pattern repeated across the front. German armor dominated by an enemy they couldn't catch. The problem seemed impossible to solve. German engineering had created the ultimate tank: thick armor, massive guns, precise mechanical systems. Yet this superiority meant nothing against an enemy that refused to fight by established rules. The Panther's turret needed 60 full seconds to complete rotation, 60 seconds of vulnerability, 60 seconds for death to find them. Meanwhile, in the pre-dawn darkness beyond the tree line, American tank destroyers moved into attack positions. The M18 Hellcat crews of the 750th Tank Destroyer Battalion checked their equipment one final time. Engines warmed, guns loaded, radio communications confirmed. In 17 minutes, everything would change. 5 years of German tactical doctrine was about to crumble. Tank warfare, as the Wehrmacht understood it, would cease to exist. Heavy steel, long-range accuracy, deliberate, methodical fire. These principles had dominated European battlefields since 1939. Now an American vehicle that ignored every established rule would shatter this foundation forever. The Panther represented the peak of German engineering. Its 75mm cannon could destroy any Allied tank at over 2,000 meters. The sloped frontal armor measured 80 mm thick, nearly impenetrable by conventional standards. Everything about the design emphasized overwhelming firepower married to maximum protection. Weight meant strength. Mass equaled survival. But in 3 minutes of actual combat, multiple German tanks would burn. Enemies moving at impossible speeds would strike and vanish. German armor couldn't match these velocities on prepared highways, much less rough terrain. This represented a fundamental shift in armored warfare philosophy. America had engineered something that hunted differently. Strength mattered less than speed. Weight became a liability rather than an asset. Protection meant nothing if you couldn't hit your target. The new reality was simple and terrifying. Faster meant deadlier. American tank destroyer doctrine emerged from Pearl Harbor's ashes. December 1941 marked the formal beginning of a revolutionary concept. While German philosophy demanded ever heavier tanks, American designers embraced industrial pragmatism and mobility. General Motors engineers received seemingly contradictory requirements. Create something that could kill any German tank while moving faster than anything on tracks. The doctrinal foundation was established November 21, 1941. General Leslie McNair created the Tank Destroyer Force around 3 core principles. Seek meant aggressive reconnaissance. Strike meant quick, devastating gunfire. Destroy meant total elimination through superior tactics and speed. This philosophy explicitly favored mobility over armor protection. Field Manual FM-18-5 codified these concepts. General Andrew Bruce commanded the training center at Camp Hood. His curriculum emphasized continuous movement and concentrated firepower. American crews learned to think differently about armored combat. Survival came through speed, not thick steel. Victory belonged to whoever moved fastest and shot most accurately. Development proceeded at breakneck pace. The T-49 mounted a 57mm gun. Insufficient penetration forced evolution to the T-67 with a 75mm weapon. Finally, the T-70 pilot model emerged with a 76mm high-velocity gun. Buick Motor Division in Flint, Michigan, received the production contract in January 1942. Chief Engineer Joseph Roberts faced impossible demands. Mount a gun capable of destroying any German tank. Maintain a low profile for concealment. Achieve speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. Keep total weight under 20 tons. The solution required painful compromises. Armor thickness would be sacrificed for mobility. The M18's protection was deliberately minimal. Just 25.4 mm on the turret face, only 12.7 mm on the hull front. This shielding stopped machine gun bullets and shrapnel fragments. Nothing more. German 80mm shells would pass completely through both sides. This represented a conscious decision to prioritize speed over survivability. European armored tradition emphasized thick armor and heavy guns. The M18 violated every established principle. Yet this crude, lightweight vehicle would consistently destroy German tanks built with precision engineering. The fastest tracked fighting vehicle of World War II emerged from American industrial might and tactical innovation. Revolutionary performance came from perfect engineering integration. The Wright R975 radial aircraft engine provided reliable power in sub-zero temperatures. Early models used the naturally aspirated C1 version, generating 350 horsepower. Later units received the supercharged C4, producing 400 horsepower. This massive power output combined with minimal weight created extraordinary performance. The power-to-weight ratio told the story. M18 Hellcats achieved 20 to 22.5 horsepower per ton. Panthers managed only 15 horsepower per ton. This advantage translated directly to battlefield superiority. While German tanks struggled with complex manual transmissions, the M18 used hydromatic automatic systems with torque converters. German crews exhausted themselves with constant shifting and clutch work. Panther transmissions were technically advanced, but tragically fragile. Final drive failures plagued the vehicle throughout its service life. American drivers simply pressed the accelerator and maintained top speed while executing complex maneuvers. No other tank could match this capability. Acceleration figures were devastating. 0 to 30 mph in 7 seconds. Maximum speed of 55 mph with governors engaged. 60 mph without restrictions on paved surfaces. The lightweight design and wide tracks produced minimal ground pressure, only 10.5 pounds per square inch, lower than many wheeled trucks. This allowed operation in mud and snow that immobilized heavier German armor. Tiger tanks generated 15.2 psi ground pressure. King Tigers were even worse. The M18 could navigate terrain that completely bogged down 57-ton Tigers and 69.8-ton King Tigers. Strategic mobility became a decisive advantage. Bridge capacity restrictions told another story. King Tigers required rare Class 70 bridges. M18s crossed any Class 24 structure. Any bridge supporting a loaded supply truck could handle a Hellcat. During the final push to the Rhine, this capability proved decisive. Hellcats bypassed bottlenecks and appeared behind German lines in supposedly impossible locations. The Italian campaign provided the M18's first combat test. The 894th Tank Destroyer Battalion deployed in spring 1944. But the main theater baptism came with the 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion landing at Utah Beach in July 1944. German forces received their introduction to the Hellcat during the Normandy breakout. Near Coutances, France, July 29, 1944, German heavy units filed alarming reports. American tank destroyers appeared and vanished before return fire could be aimed. German analysis revealed the mathematical nightmare they faced. Panther turrets needed 60 seconds for full rotation. Maximum off-road speed was 15 miles per hour. The M18 sustained 26 miles per hour cross-country. At 500 meters range, a Hellcat moving perpendicularly crossed a Tiger's gun sight in 4.5 seconds, faster than manual tracking could follow. This speed differential defined the entire battlefield dynamic. German crews had 3 minutes from first engine sound to shell impact. The M176 mm gun was perfectly matched to this doctrine. Standard M62 armor-piercing rounds struggled against Panther frontal armor, but easily defeated 40 mm side plates from 500 meters. The gun's perceived weakness actually enforced the flanking tactics where Hellcat speed dominated. Crews received extremely scarce M93 tungsten core rounds, often only 1 or 2 per month. These special rounds penetrated 115 feet of armor at 500 yards. Muzzle velocity of 2,600 feet per second meant shells often impacted before the sound reached enemy crews. Physical destruction combined with psychological terror. The projectile arrived in silence, followed by the thunderous report of the distant gun. German doctrine emphasized methodical defensive combat. Tigers and Panthers were designed for deliberate long-range engagements. The Hellcat invalidated every aspect of this training and military philosophy. At Camp Hood, Texas, M18 crews underwent intensive 17-week programs. General Bruce's curriculum centered on one principle: speed equals life. Crews practiced shoot and scoot tactics, fire and immediately displace to new positions within 30 seconds. This concept became instinctive through repetition. The revolutionary live fire conditioning course subjected trainees to overhead fire for entire weeks. Full combat stress simulation created the infamous Wolfpack tactics. 3 or 4 Hellcats operated in coordinated independent attacks. SCR-508 radio systems created overlapping fields of fire while maintaining constant motion. This capability multiplied force effectiveness. German tanks often fought in communication isolation. Faulty late-war radios and minimal replacement crew training created decisive quality gaps. By late 1944, new German tank crews received as little as 2 weeks training before frontline deployment. The M18 exploited this weakness mercilessly. Industrial capacity deepened the contrast. Buick completed entire M18 production between July 1943 and October 1944. 2,507 vehicles rolled off assembly lines. Every lost Hellcat could be instantly replaced. Germans struggled throughout the war to build heavy tanks. Total Panther production reached only 6,000 units. 492 King Tigers were constructed. 1,347 Tiger tanks completed. The mathematics were unavoidable. For every Panther produced, America built 8 tank destroyers and tanks combined. American logistical superiority magnified Hellcat operational tempo. German forces by late 1944 suffered chronic fuel shortages and constant parts scarcity. The Red Ball Express kept American tanks fueled and supplied. Operation Watch on Rhine partly aimed to capture Allied fuel depots because German supplies were insufficient for prolonged operations. Fuel crisis forced German tanks into static defensive positions, exactly where mobile Hellcats held maximum advantage. German engineers examining captured M18s often dismissed their apparent crudeness. Functional welds instead of perfect seams. Armor plates showing tool marks. Crude interior ergonomics. Yet this pragmatic vehicle consistently destroyed German tanks built with watchmaker precision. The Battle of Aricourt provided definitive proof of concept. September 1944 in France. The 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion, attached to the 4th Armored Division, confronted elements of the German 113th Panzer Brigade. September 19th brought thick fog and extremely close-range engagements. Lieutenant Edwin Leiper's platoon destroyed 5 German tanks in the first 5 minutes. Only 1 Hellcat was lost. Captain Tom Evans earned the Distinguished Service Cross by personally manning a disabled Hellcat's gun during prolonged fighting. Final results were legendary. 39 German tanks eliminated, 4 M18s destroyed, 3 damaged, a remarkable 5.6 to 1 kill ratio. The Battle of the Bulge cemented the Hellcats' legend. December 1944 brought the 750th Tank Destroyer Battalion rushing to reinforce the embattled 101st Airborne Division. Near Nouville, M18s from the 609th and 705th Battalions engaged the elite 2nd Panzer Division. Lieutenant David Hagen's 4-vehicle platoon achieved spectacular results. 14 enemy tanks destroyed while losing only 1 Hellcat. Over 2 days of battle, combined Hellcat forces destroyed at least 30 German tanks. Between 600 and 1,000 German casualties were inflicted. A crucial 48-hour delay provided vital time for Allied defense coordination. Overall, the 750th destroyed roughly 40 German tanks for 6 M18 losses during the Bastogne siege. Final kill ratio reached 6.7 to 1. The M18's ability to operate effectively in mud and deep snow proved decisive. Heavier German armor became bogged down, while Hellcats maintained mobility. This capability was a major factor in the successful defense of the besieged city. Snow and ice that immobilized Panthers and Tigers barely slowed the lightweight American vehicles. Thin armor remained the M18's biggest vulnerability. German anti-tank guns exploited this weakness consistently. Loss analysis showed 40 to 50% of M18 casualties came from enemy tanks and anti-tank weapons. Another 25 to 35% resulted from mechanical failures. The open-top turret design paradoxically increased crew survival rates to over 80%. Fast bailouts were possible when penetration occurred. This contrasted sharply with tragically low 35% survival rates for German heavy tank crews. Thick armor that protected against penetration became a death trap when it was finally breached. M18 influence extended far beyond 1945. Post-war armies studied its deployment extensively. Mobility could be more critical than protection in certain situations. Modern military doctrines focusing on shoot and scoot tactics trace directly back to 1944 Hellcat employment. Rapid displacement and mobility as primary defense evolved from American tank destroyer concepts. The vehicle finished the war with 526 confirmed enemy armored vehicle kills against 216 combat losses, the highest kill-to-loss ratio of any American tank or tank destroyer at 2.4 to 1. Strategic consequences were enormous and deeply psychological. Mere presence of Hellcat units in a sector could halt German armored movement for hours. Commanders demanded explicit confirmation of Hellcat locations before committing reserves. During the Ardennes offensive, intercepted German communications showed this paralysis repeatedly. The offensive meant to split Allied forces was partly neutralized by fear of vehicles weighing less than half a Panther's mass. German pursuit of invulnerable supertanks resulted in vehicles paralyzed by high-speed warfare. The M18 Hellcat proved ultimate victory doesn't always require superior protection or brute strength. Correct doctrine properly applied matters more. Germans were defeated not by bigger guns, but by enemies that moved like cavalry. Sports cars with cannons struck and vanished before fortress guns could traverse. For German tank crews facing M18 Hellcats, 3 minutes was all the warning they received. 3 minutes from high-revving engine sound to shell impact. 3 minutes to traverse turrets, acquire targets, and fire. While Hellcats were already racing to next ambush points at 55 miles per hour. The ultimate lesson changed armored warfare forever. Often, the best armor is simply not being where enemies can shoot you. Speed conquered steel, mobility defeated mass. The Phantom Hunter had rewritten the rules of war. Thick fog rolled through the Ardennes that morning. German tank crews couldn't see beyond 50 meters. Radio chatter filled with nervous reports. Something was moving out there. Multiple contacts, fast contacts. The distinctive engine whine grew louder from multiple directions simultaneously. This was coordinated, professional, deadly. American tank destroyer doctrine in perfect execution. While German commanders struggled with communication failures and replacement crew inadequacies, veteran Hellcat teams prepared their final ambush. The 3-minute window was about to close forever. Fire erupted from concealed positions. Muzzle flashes stabbed through morning mist. Armor-piercing shells screamed across frozen ground. German tanks that had dominated European battlefields for 5 years suddenly became victims. The hunters had become the hunted. Steel fortresses were outmaneuvered by speed demons that refused to fight fair. Victory belonged to those who moved fastest and shot straightest. The M18 Hellcat had proven this beyond doubt. In forests of Belgium, in fields of France, in snow-covered hills across Europe, the Phantom Hunter rewrote military history. One 3-minute engagement at a time.